Farmweek is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, we have a highlight show for you. It won't be long until gardening season. Find out how you can plant heirloom varieties by visiting Seed Savers in Decorah, Iowa. It started the heirloom plant movement.
We'll have 2 Southern gardening segments. Have you seen this on your trees and been worried? They're called lichens, and you don't have to be anxious. African daisies are dramatic, yet they're not as hard to care for as you might think.
Our first story today is about a Mississippi Tree Farmer of the Year who advanced the forestry profession in the state while he helped individual landowners manage their timberlands.
I tell you, my attitude is that if they told me I wasn't going to live but 2 more weeks, I'd want to plant some trees before I left. And if we don't do that, future generations won't have it.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to a feature story edition of Farm Week. Leighton, in today's first story, the 2011 Outstanding Tree Farmer of the Year, as named by the Mississippi Forestry Association. The Call of Forestry found Charles Dismukes of Kilmichael early in his life. He began tree farming at the age of 13 and eventually followed a career that saw him own his own timber company and work to further forestry on a national, state, and county basis.
My management plan goes out 15 years now, from 2010. I updated it in 2010 and it goes out 15 years from there. Now I have had some kind of a management plan since, for at least 60 years.
Charles Dismukes and his wife Carolyn live on their 1,158-acre registered tree farm northwest of Kilmichael, Mississippi. Mr. Dismukes grew up on the original 105 acres first purchased by his grandfather. Registered in 1959, the tree farm has trees ranging from just planted to more than 60 years. Dismukes has not only tree farmed, he also started the Vaden Timber Company, which his sons Barry and Brian operate today. Dismukes is also a registered forester in Alabama and Mississippi. He works to promote forestry at the local, state, and national levels.
One of the quotes he told me about is like, those that show up win. You have to be there in order to make things happen. So some just life skills that he is always sharing.
Vicki Roberts of Winona is the current president of the Montgomery County Forestry Association. She started participating in the association 10 years ago after her father passed away and the family land was turned into a tree farm. At first glance, Roberts and Dismukes might not appear to have much in common, but she considers him a mentor.
We both have something in common. We both love land, and he's a good steward of the land, and his basic principles about life. You know, he's a big giver. I think that people would not find that out from him because he doesn't like to talk about that. I have a vision for it, but he actually has the land where I can come and see the trails that he has on his property, the ponds. I can come see the visual of what I'm trying to do with the goals for our family property also.
Roberts likes to read through Dismukes' 4-H youth record book because 4-H is where his forestry career started at age 13.
It was in '51, and a new assistant county agent, Mr. Bob Wilson, came into this area, and he was real enthusiastic with a 4-H club. Every school had a 4-H club in those days. He started to work on the kids around here, and he looked at my place and he says, y'all don't farm much, so you need a forestry project.
That led to forester Ralph Robertson with the Mississippi State University Extension Service helping the young Dismukes to formulate a tree management plan for 65 acres of his family's land. Field days were held at the property demonstrating proper tree planting and management. Dismukes' interest in forestry grew. He won the Mississippi and National 4-H Forestry Project Awards in 1957. That led to a 4-year college scholarship from Homelight Chainsaws. Dismukes graduated with a forestry degree from Mississippi State University in 1961. Even in high school, Dismukes' reputation for forestry knowledge caused him to be called as an expert witness in a court case.
When I was 15 years old, I got a subpoena from a judge in Winona. And I was subpoenaed as an expert witness in a timber trespass case at 15 years of age. And naturally, it was kind of getting to me, but I went over there and I told him what I knew about timber and what I knew about trespassing, and I guess the guy won his case, and so I guess he was happy.
Dismukes continued to share his forestry knowledge while he operated his timber buying company. He tried to persuade every landowner he worked with to replant after the harvest.
I always had a service. If I would make arrangements to get it tree planted and get the TSI with the site preparation work done. Now, I didn't pay for it, but if he'd save enough money to do the paying, I would do all of the work for us getting it replanted for him. And that still holds today with my sons.
If someone doesn't have a consultant forester of their own, I mean, we've always been, if they want us to, we'd be willing to advise them on how to go about replanting and who to talk to in your extension service and your county foresters, and then they can give them all kinds of advice on that.
Julian Watson, the 2009 Mississippi Forestry Association Outstanding Tree Farmer of the Year, is a client of the Dismukes. For more than 10 years, their Vaden Timber Company is the only one he lets thin the trees on his Holmes County land.
People say, well, why don't you get somebody else? I said, well, you know, I'm very loyal. They've been loyal to me, and I'm loyal to them. They do a great job.
Dismukes not only logged and tree farmed, he spent a lot of time after hours working on behalf of the forest industry. For example, he's a life member of the Mississippi Forestry Association and MFA's foundation. He served in many MFA roles, being an advocate for Mississippi forestry. In 2008, Dismukes received its highest honor, the Meritorious Service to Forestry Award. His active work to promote the forestry profession saw him declared a Fellow of the Society of American Foresters, its highest honor. Locally, Dismukes is a member of 3 county forestry associations.
Charles has been a member of just about every forestry organization I can think of, Southern Hardwood Group, SAF, MFA. He's a charter member of the Montgomery County Forestry Association and been the president 2 or 3 times.
He has shared his knowledge with a lot of landowners, both here in Montgomery County and in Carroll County also.
Dismukes has also planted seeds for the future of forestry by donating to the College of Forest Resources at Mississippi State University. He funds a scholarship for an ambassador, a student who recruits other students into the college.
What they needed was call it the ambassador scholarship. And actually they give the scholarship to students, and these students in turn recruit other students for the forestry school. And I thought that was a good thing, and my wife thought it was a really good thing too.
It was neat for me while I was at Mississippi State. I was an ambassador with the College of Forest Resources, and I received a scholarship from a guy named Charles Dismukes, and I knew he was from Vaden and was the owner of Vaden Timber Company, and it's really neat now that I'm standing on his farm, seeing what all he's done and getting to know him.
The Dismukes family operates a multi-use tree farm where timber production, hunting, recreation, and education work together. It's not unusual to see groups ranging from homeschoolers to Boy Scouts on the Dismukes tree farm. This forestry class from Holmes Community College came recently for an opportunity to work in a managed forest. Field days are not uncommon for local landowners. The future looks promising for the Dismukes tree farm. It remains the center of family activity. One grandson is majoring in surveying while the other is majoring in forestry.
He likes forestry and he likes wildlife, so he's trying to get that double major into that. So he just likes being involved in it. I guess it's in the blood.
I tell you, my attitude is that if they told me I wasn't going to live but 2 more weeks, I'd want to plant some trees before I left. And if we don't do that, future generations won't have it.
We'll go to our Farm Week website if you'd like to see this story on Charles Dismukes again. The website is farmweek.msucares.com. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube. If you're interested in managing your land for timber and wildlife, you can get in touch with the Mississippi State University Extension Service or the Mississippi Forestry Commission. We'll have their contact information on our Farm Week website. Now, that story aired originally on our show back in October of 2010. Unfortunately, we have to report that Jeff Crowder, who works for the Forestry Commission in that story, has passed away. And since we aired that story, and we anyway extend our condolences to his family.
It's time now for today's trivia quiz on Farm Week. This question is about sweet potatoes. The U.S. Department of Agriculture says each American eats 7.1 pounds of sweet potatoes per person last year. The question: how many people did Mississippi sweet potato farmers feed last year? Is the answer 415,000 people, 11.3 million, 42.7 million, or 49.6 million? We'll have the answer for you after today's Southern Gardening segments.
Well, have you seen some fibrous, perhaps scaly type growths on your trees? Well, in this week's first Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman says don't be worried. They're probably lichens, and they're not feeding on your trees.
This time of year, I get calls about this moldy stuff growing on plants and whether it will harm our trees and shrubs. The cause for concern is an organism called lichen. Lichen are very interesting and are found throughout the Southeast and beyond. A misconception many gardeners have is that lichen are parasites and feeding on the landscape plants. Actually, the lichen is only growing on the surface of the bark. They are composed of an unlikely combination of a fungus and algae that are combined in a symbiotic relationship. In other words, the algae and fungus have taken a liking to each other. There are three main types of lichen that are commonly seen in our landscape trees. Some spread on the tree, very flattened in appearance. These are the crustose forms of lichen, and like the name suggests, may look a little crusty. Other lichens develop folds that resemble a crumpled sheet as they spread across a branch. These wavy folds are produced by the follicose forms of lichen. The third commonly found form of lichen are organisms that are highly branched with multiple projections. These projections can have a very fine texture that resembles little balls of hair growing on a limb. These are the fruticose forms of lichen. Lichens are commonly observed on trees and shrubs that are struggling. For example, this live oak with the circling roots. In reality, the lichens were already present before any decline started, giving the illusion of causing the problem. Now, I personally think that lichen adds a touch of patina to our landscape plants. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
What plants can you choose when you need a splash of color this spring? Well, in our second Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Gary Bachman will show us that African daisies are a good pick for vibrant color and variety.
When shopping for flowering plants this spring, be sure to take a look at African daisy. Also known as osteos, African daisies are outstanding flowering plants. Today I'm at Dogwood Ridge Farms, where Barbara and Mike Levy are growing beautiful African daisies. These plants evolved in South Africa and are relatively new to many home gardeners. They have the familiar center disc and petals of the daisy family. The popular Serenity series will grow 10 to 14 inches tall and reach up to 20 inches wide in the landscape. Serenity colors include improved pink, dark purple, lemonade, honey gold, and lavender frost. There are two Serenity selections having spoon-shaped petals, White Bliss and Lavender Bliss. The unique shape shows the color contrast between the upper and lower surfaces of the petals. One of the most striking African daisy selections is the Zion Copper Amethyst, which will have good branching characteristics and flowers early in the season. It's the flowers that turn heads. The petals are pastel lavender with coppery orange tips. The center is a bright purple blue speckled with yellow stamens. Always grow in the full sun, keeping the planting media consistently moist. Add water-soluble fertilizer weekly to promote continual flowering. So go ahead and try some African daisies in your garden this spring. I know you'll appreciate these colorful plants. I'm Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
It's time for the answer to the day's trivia quiz on Farm Week. It's about how many people may have eaten Mississippi sweet potatoes last year. Mississippi farmers grew more than 35 million pounds of sweet potatoes last year. Well, if the average American ate 7.1 pounds, that means it's possible that Mississippi growers could have fed sweet potatoes to 49.6 million Americans. U.S. agriculture is truly productive. We're going to pause now for a break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll have the calendar and one more feature story for you. Seed Savers Exchange. They were the first to kindle the movement toward planting open-pollinated heirloom plant varieties.
Each year, many Mississippians are seriously injured or killed when farm tractors overturn. Don't become a statistic. Avoid rollovers by staying away from steep ditches and pond banks. Slow down and operate tractors at a safe angle to the slope of the terrain. Always keep loader buckets low when transporting materials and inspect the work area for obstacles such as stumps, holes, or washes. A message from the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Before we get back to our last story, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The Crosby Arboretum at Picayune, Mississippi is holding its annual spring plant sale next week. It takes place Friday and Saturday, March 22nd and 23rd. The hours are 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. both days. If you're an Arboretum member, you get to get in an hour early to make your picks. You'll be able to find hard-to-find native plants at this sale. There will also be experts on hand to give you advice on how to get those plants started right. Well, 2 beef cattle boot camps will happen in April. They're sponsored by the Mississippi State University Extension Service and the Mississippi Agriculture and Forestry Experiment Station. You'll learn about hoof care, crossbreeding systems, forage, feed, and mineral nutrition. Register early. The fee is $35. At the door, $45. On Friday, April 12th, the boot camp takes place on the South Farm on the campus of MSU at Starkville. The following Friday, it moves to the MSU Brown Loam Branch Experiment Station on 7 Springs Road at Raymond. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
Our last story today will hopefully whet your appetite to garden this spring. You'll visit the Seed Savers Exchange of Decorah, Iowa. This organization collects thousands of heirloom vegetables, herbs, flowers, and plants outside of the federal government. It's one of the largest seed banks in the United States. Market to Market's Judy Blank reports.
Sunlight filters through verdant gardens at Heritage Farm, headquarters for Seed Savers Exchange. The thousands of heirloom varieties in the Seed Savers collection have been passed down through generations of farmers and gardeners and are valued for their genetic diversity and adaptability to pressures such as climate change. Seed Savers' mission is to preserve and share this agricultural heritage with its membership and the public all over the world.
There's a lot of moving parts to Seed Savers, and all of them kind of come back in some way to our core mission, which is to maintain heirloom seeds, distribute them, educate the public about genetic diversity. Why is it important?
Many of the heirloom varieties in the collection are donated by people who become members of the organization and share seeds that have been grown by their families for generations. The handing down of seed is what inspired Diane Ott Whaley to co-found Seed Savers Exchange in 1975 with her former husband, Kent Whaley. Diane's grandfather, Baptist John Ott, gave her morning glory seeds that were brought to America by his ancestors.
I'm holding this handful of seed that I'm linking back to ancestors in another country that I never knew about or thought about. I felt the magic in that seed was bringing my family into my life.
In 1986, Seed Savers Exchange expanded to the 890-acre Heritage Farm, where Grandpa Ott's morning glory continues to flourish.
And now when you think about the power of that little seed, we have 13,000 people that are members, we have 24,000 different accessions of seed in our collection, and we've grown into this beautiful, beautiful paradise, and all from a little seed.
The gardens are living classrooms that are open to the public. Seed Savers offers various educational resources, including online webinars. While its primary purpose is to educate the public about heirloom plants, the history of the seed plays a vital role in Seed Savers' goal of preserving America's garden heritage.
You have the Phoebe Vincent heirloom. Our seed historian was able to get the backstory on that. By emailing the great-great-granddaughter, we were able to get more of a story and background to the bean, as well as give the seed back to the family because they had lost it.
The organization also helps the public learn about seed-saving techniques that are no longer commonly known.
Heirloom seeds are seeds that are open pollinated, meaning that the seeds can be saved from the fruit, grown out the following year, and you're still going to have fruit that's true to the parent type. Heirloom comes in the sense that it's been handed down generationally. Most farming in America prior to World War II involved open pollinated seeds, where the farmers would select seeds from the harvest to be their seed stock for the following spring.
The Millennium Seed Bank Partnership estimates between 60,000 to 100,000 horticultural varieties, about 25% of all plants, are in danger of becoming extinct. Seed Savers founders believe genetic material in open pollinated seeds could be critical to our future survival.
In many cases, they've had a chance to adapt to many climate conditions and over the years have turned into a very strong plant. And I just think that who knows what we're going to need for plant breeding in the future.
100 years from now, we might not know what seeds in our seed bank are best adaptable to the conditions that might exist, say, here in Decorah, Iowa.
The historic apple orchard at Seed Savers Exchange displays hundreds of varieties of 19th century apple trees. But Seed Savers says those represent only a small fraction of apple varieties that have survived.
Our orchard manager at Seed Savers, his name is Dan Bussey, and he's also an apple historian, and he's working on a book. He's identified more than 20,000 different named varieties of apples that were grown in North America between 1629 and the year 2000. Over 20,000 varieties. As of 2000, he estimates that we're down to about 4,000 varieties.
Seed Savers' goal is to offer apple trees for sale in his catalog, which already features hundreds of heirloom vegetables, flowers, and herbs.
So Seed Savers is probably most known for the commercial catalog, and that has about 600 varieties in it. They've kind of been standout all-star varieties that we want to make available to the general public, and that's our fundraising mechanism.
We sell seed throughout the world, primarily in the United States. We probably had a customer base this year of around probably 40 to 50,000 customers.
In addition to its catalog, Seed Savers also publishes a yearbook to facilitate the actual exchange of seed between some of its more than 13,000 members.
And that person-to-person exchange is really the most resilient system we can have for our seeds. That means that they're out there, it means that they're getting used, and it means that they're relevant and important to people.
The organization also sells wholesale to larger growers and in bulk to other seed companies. More than 500 garden centers across the nation carry Seed Savers Exchange retail seed racks.
I'd say more than 50% of the revenue that we generate each year comes from seed sales of individual packets.
Seed Savers contracts with various growers to help produce its retail products. Mike Bollinger and Katie Prohaska of River Root Farm in Northeast Iowa help grow garlic with a little assistance from their 2 young children.
We'll sell about 50 to 60,000 heads of garlic for seed this year, and they're part of that effort.
They're providing the seed stock to us, and then we're growing it out. We're doing all the processing and bringing it back to them as a finished product.
Mike and Katie also provide certified organic seedlings for sale at the Seed Savers Exchange Visitor Center at Heritage Farm. Like plants that originally began with a single seed, the exchange has grown over the past 40 years. Its vast seed collection is carefully maintained according to international gene bank protocols.
This is the freezer vault, the long-term storage area at Heritage Farm.
But the history also is preserved in literary form. Hundreds of letters accompanying seed donations are carefully studied and documented. Each year, more than 20,000 visitors are drawn to Heritage Farm, where the work to preserve agricultural diversity has expanded to include livestock, such as rare, ancient White Park cattle. And while Seed Savers Exchange is Aunt Whaley's top priority, she has found time to write about her passion for preserving botanical history. Her book, Gathering, Memoir of a Seed Saver, is a story of the exchange.
I think when we started, we felt the urgency too, because when a seed is gone, it's gone and it's irreplaceable.
For Market to Market, I'm Judy Blank.
You can watch this story again on Seed Savers Exchange on our Farm Week website, farmweek.msucares.com. You can also see it on YouTube and Facebook. We'll also have a link on the Market to Market website where you can see the story as well and read the script. We'll also have a link to the Seed Savers website, seedsavers.org. Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, it's been done for a long time, but there's still a lot to be discovered about spraying.
Scientists in Nebraska have built wind tunnels in an attempt to see how different nozzles and pressures affect spray effectiveness. They're trying to turn spraying from an art into a science.
In southern gardening, the Cinetti percalis. This plant likes to bloom its vibrant colors when it's cool in the spring. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. Have a good week.